Welcome to Pull or Pass, your weekly geeky comic book show. We're on issue number 27, and I'm Mark.
And I'm Zach.
Hey, Zach, how you been?
Pretty much the same as I was last week, I think. Just getting on with it and that, you know.
We're definitely in interesting times, aren't we?
Yeah, kind of. It's it's just a bit of a surreal time, isn't it?
Frankly, it sucks, but it's got to be done, and I don't think we really need to talk about it. What I will talk about is how we are currently recording on Skype. We are fortunate enough at normal times to be able to record in the Fab International studios, and we are spoilt for sound quality in there. Unfortunately, This is a Skype call, so it's as good as we're going to get. We're both on headsets. We both know what we're doing, but it won't be as good a quality. Hopefully that doesn't affect people's enjoyment of the show. We've also made a decision about the format of the show going forward while we're doing our recordings on Skype. What we've decided is we're going to go through various freebies, free issue ones on websites or on Comixology or wherever you can, that are easily accessible issue ones, not necessarily latest ones, because we're not getting those anymore. But
well,
we're going to go
it kind
through.
Of depends at the moment, isn't it?
I think we're still getting dribs and drabs, but it's what we wanted to do was essentially allow people to read along for free with easily accessible books.
Indeed.
So looking through the internet over the last week, Image, Vault, Dark Horse, TKO, and Dynamite are all offering free firsts. There's bound to be others that are doing it as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a publisher a week and we're going to read some of their stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. And cover stuff that everyone can get their hands on, in theory.
Yeah, and it's the same format where we decide if we want to pull or pass. But in this case, it's obviously, will we continue to probably buy the trade realistically, because these are all comics that have been around for a while. But it's still the same concept. It's a pull, or is it a pass? Yeah,
same idea, just slightly more different.
Have you got any news, Zach?
I've actually, weirdly, got quite a lot of news, yeah.
Me too. So this is going to be a bumper episode, I think.
It could be. So should we do our usual, I do a news, you do a news?
Yeah, let's keep it as nice and simple, and let's keep it as normal as we can.
Cracking, let's do it. So my first thing is... So DC Comics have announced that they're going to continue doing digital new releases, although apparently some of the titles have been quite heavily delayed. So there'll be some new digital releases, but not all of them.
I did see that, and I think it's an interesting one. Will they ever produce the paper versions of them? Because, you know, comic book people are essentially collectors, and if the paper copy of something they've been collecting forever is never available, that's going to be heartbreaking.
I think they will release the physical issues when they can do, and I think it is very much two different audiences between digital singles and physical singles. So I think they will end up doing both. I know so someone we talked about recently, Heather Antos, who works for Valiant, asked on Twitter, you know, how are people getting by with comics? Are they waiting for stores to reopen and they're going digital? They're doing half and half. And I was surprised by the amount of people who had said that they were just going to wait for however long before reading any new comics. So clearly there's a big chunk of people there who aren't going to read these things digitally and will definitely want the physical singles when they come out. So
I think for me, the books that I have pulled on this show as we've been going along, I want to continue reading them in paper format. That has been a conscious choice and part of my decision when we've been doing this show. So I'm absolutely on with that. And I do have a massive, massive fat pile of comic books on the bedside table that is quite often knocked over by the cat. So I might actually get to the point where I've read enough of them that the cat doesn't knock them over anymore. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a bonus, right?
I mean, that is the dream, yeah.
I mean, the cat will be disappointed. She does enjoy pushing her face into piles of books and knocking them onto the floor.
Yeah, that sounds like most cats.
She's lovely, and she's very confused that both me and my partner are in the house a lot more at the moment. She walks into rooms and kind of looks at us in a "Why are you there?" kind of face.
Which is fair. It's weird. I think my cat's doing the same, very much taking advantage of the fact that, we're here whenever he wants us now.
It's good, isn't it?
It is in a way, yeah.
I've got some more news. Or have we finished talking about DC?
Yeah, I think so. I'll let you roll on.
Did you? Well, obviously you did see, because we're all at home and we've got nothing better to do. Disney Plus has been launched in the UK, and I thought we'd have a quick look at the kind of stuff that you can get access, the Marvel stuff that you can access on Disney Plus.
Yes.
So I had a look through, and Runaway Season 1 and 2 are there, which is pretty cool, because Runaway Season 1 has only been accessible legally through Amazon previously.
That's right,
I have binged all of Season 2 of Runaways within the first week.
I haven't got to it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Seasons 1 to 4 are there as well, which is good for me because I was only a couple of episodes into Season 4 before you had to pay for it on Amazon Prime, so I was pleased with that.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. Agent
Carter Seasons 1 and 2 are there as well, so that's the complete Agent Carter.
And the best.
I watched Season 1, but I never got around to watching Season 2, and I can't say I missed it, but I am going to watch Season 2 now because it's on Disney+. Inhumans is there. Hooray.
We could have both watched Inhumans on Channel 4 and neither of us did.
I actually watched Inhumans on the first episode at the cinema many moons ago.
You're not the only person I know that did that, and I question all of you.
Well, we didn't know at the time that it was going to be so rubbish, did we?
Yeah, of course.
There's so many Spider-Man cartoons and other stuff like that, and the original the 90s X-Men is there, and I'm very excited about that.
I've already started the rewatch of 90s X-Men.
Because it's so damn good.
It is. It's a really good show.
Even Season 5, where they've clearly run out of budget and ideas, is still kind of watchable.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm looking forward to it. It's been probably 10 years since I rewatched it, so I'm looking forward to giving it another go around.
And most of the MCU films are there. The ones that are missing are the ones that are distributed by Universal. So all of the Spider-Man ones and the Hulk, which is frustrating for me because I wanted to rewatch the Hulk.
Wait, which Hulk are we talking about? Are we talking about Ed Norton or Eric Bana?
The one that's still part of canon in the MCU. The one with Abomination, I think it is.
Cards on the Table. I rewatched it last year. You ain't gonna have a good time.
Is it not that good?
I had glamorized it in my head, and when I rewatched it, was bitterly disappointed.
It was one of the ones that I haven't watched for so long that was going to be a priority for me on Disney Plus, and then it wasn't there, and then I realized why, and I felt a bit dumb.
I mean, I can lend you the DVD if you really want.
Well, not now. You can't.
Ah, true.
I mean, you can post. Can you post it to me?
I don't even know. I'd have to have a look. I feel like there are easier ways of you watching the Hulk than me posting it to you.
I know, but that would still be fun, is if you posted it to me, because, why not?
Mail delivery DVDs.
It's like having Love Film back again, but it's your DVD collection. I approve. And there's quite a lot of the X-Men stuff on there, but not the recent ones. So I've actually seen all the X-Men films that are on there. I missed the Phoenix Saga, which isn't on there yet as well.
Again, no great loss, but...
Well, still, for completion's sake, I'd like to see it.
I think that's the reason a lot of people went to see it, myself included.
And I didn't ask, have you actually got Disney Plus?
Yeah, they got me with the stupid, slightly reduced deal.
To be fair, their stupid, slightly released deal was 50 quid for 12 months. And I actually thought about it. That's what, £4.50 a month?
It is a good deal.
That won't buy you a pint in a swanky wine bar. So think of it that way. You've basically spent a pint a month on it. And that's actually really decent.
And a pint of wine is expensive.
All right, a glass of wine or a pint of lager. It won't buy you either of those things in a swanky wine bar, is what I'm getting at, fool.
No, that's true. It's a good deal, and I'm glad I've got it as another thing to watch, even though I've mostly been watching Netflix.
Oh, anyway. I've been watching everything, just loads of it.
Yeah, we watched all of the new She-Ra cartoon, and it's bloody brilliant. So
really,
yeah, it's really, really good.
Okay, I'll put that on the watch list. I'm sure I'll get round to it at the moment.
It's worth it. I'd heard good things, but I was still surprised by just how good a show it's been.
Good. Anyway, that's Disney Plus with lots of Marvel stuff for British folk. Have you got any more news?
I do have more news. So much news. So Netflix have renewed Lock and Key for season 2.
This makes me happy. I did not know this news. This is good news for me.
It's really good news. They kind of released it I think they announced it on Twitter with just a little animation video of just one of the keys spinning round. It's just got a number 2 at the top of it. So no details, but that's all I need.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that. Good times, as soon as possible, please. Oh, they're not. No studios are open at the moment. Boo.
But still,
exactly right. Good times.
Yeah, so looking forward to that one.
So I've got some news talking about the Hollywood studio closures. I've got some news about films that we were looking forward to, and it is not good news.
Yeah, I had a feeling this would come up.
Yeah, so Ghostbusters Afterlife has been moved from the 10th of the 7th this year to the 5th of the 3rd, 2021. Morbius has been transferred from the 31st of the 7th to the 19th of the 3rd, 2021. What they haven't done so far is postpone the Venom 2 film, which means that the chronology of Morbius, which was supposed to happen, was supposed to be on our screens before Venom, might be affected by that. So it's interesting times. And I do fear that they might just have said, they might just have not postponed Venom 2 yet, but it's going to be an inevitability. We don't know.
Yeah, quite possibly. I suppose we'll have to wait and see with that one.
And Eternals hasn't been postponed yet either. Again, I think that's another one that it will be decided by how long this whole crap goes on for,
Yeah, most probably.
Have you got any other news?
I do. I have little bits of other things.
Gosh, this is a lot of news. It's a bit for people, for a time where we're all sat in our houses binge watching stuff and nothing's supposed to be happening. It's a meaty news week.
It is. It's a bit weird, isn't it? So the other things I've got, which does tie in with Marvel and whatnot, is they've announced that there will be no digital releases from Marvel this week. So the week of April the 1st for comic bookness. But they've not really specified what will happen after this week. So maybe they'll do something similar to DC, or maybe not. It's a bit of a weird one. I do have some other things as well, unless you've got anything else to jump in with.
No, I haven't. That's all my news.
Okay, so the other things, again, nothing too heavy, really. So TKO Studios, Scout and Black Mask have all announced that if you buy anything from their stores online, if you tell them the name of your comic shop, they will then give 50% of the sale to said comic shop. However, one of my friends has told me this morning that might only be US only because he tried to do a TKO and it didn't work.
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense.
That's still a nice positive thing.
Yeah, that is pretty good of them.
And also on the kind of comic people doing things, Valiant are doing a kind of Hero of the Week contest. So basically, they're doing a vote on their page between characters. It's like who would win in a fight between these guys or whatever. Whoever wins the vote, they're then featuring for that week. Staff from Valiant are doing little videos talking about why they love the character. They're giving away PDFs tying in with whichever character wins. And they're also doing different bits of competitions and giveaways, which is cool. And quite a lot to take in, I've realised now when you say it all back to back.
I mean, this is the thing. Everybody seems to be doing really positive stuff in an impossible situation. And we're all scared. We've all got problems that have been caused by something that you could have never predicted. But I think what I've noticed is that people are overall being pretty damn positive.
Yeah, it's really nice. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go as far as I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, maybe not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about the positivity that's coming out of this.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything special yourself during the isolation stuff?
So the main thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the next week's Manchester Comic Book Club kind of via Skype, which is the big thing I'm focusing on. I'm doing that, and I'm doing a lot of ridiculous music as well.
Brilliant. Well, I can't come to the comic books because I can't come to the comic book group because I'm running Scout meetings via the internet on Google Meets, and it's gone much better than I ever expected it to be. I blagged it massively, and all the kids' parents messaged me afterwards saying how much they'd enjoyed it. So
that's really good.
There are ways round crap times, and I think you've got to do the positive stuff as much as you can, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's kind of part of the reason I wanted to do the comic book club, and I've had friends who have done stuff like I mentioned. That was before the podcast. Never mind. I've got friends who are setting up different podcasts and live streaming creative groups on Facebook. The Vanity Project, who we played a few weeks ago, have been doing kind of their pub quiz via Facebook Live. So I think people are doing some good, interesting things.
Now, what a lovely segue that is to mention what I've been doing creatively during these times. I've launched a new daily podcast to keep myself busy, where I have a different guest on each day, and I talk about a random topic, whatever they want to talk about, with the only caveat being that it can't be the C word. And I've called it Don't Say the C Word.
Indeed, you have.
And you're going to be on it as well.
I am. Soon, in fact.
Yeah, we're going to have you on, and what we're going to be talking about?
Cover songs. Cover versions.
That is a good topic. I'm looking forward to that. But I've had lots of different folk on. I've had lots of different conversations. Off the top of my head, I've had conversations about Star Trek The Next Generation, houseplants, children's books, live music, and the best worst films. And my mother she doesn't listen to Pull Up Ass, but my mother listens to Don't Say the C Word. We really are living in interesting times, aren't we?
We are. I think a lot of people are being creative, and I think that's a very positive thing.
So if you want to have a look at Don't Say the C Word, go to @Don'tSayTheCPod on Twitter, and you'll be able to find all the links to what I'm doing and stuff. But it's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. I'm going to play some music now, Zach.
Yeah, go for it. What you got?
Well, talking about podcasts, coming next week, I'm a guest on a podcast called Pick a Disc, which is a show where you talk about one of your favorite albums of all time, and you tell stories around it, and you go through all the tracks, and it's a music lover's dream, basically. And I picked The Fat of the Land by the Prodigy. I'll let everyone know when it's actually live. So I wanted to play some Prodigy. Unfortunately, I couldn't find an excuse to I couldn't find like any Fat of the Land tracks on any films or comic book media. So I just played some Prodigy. And this is The Day Is My Enemy by the Prodigy, which featured on the Jessica Jones trailer. Welcome back to Pull or Pass. That was The Day Is My Enemy by the Prodigy.
Yeah, it was. And I do quite like Prodigy.
I do. That's why I picked them for my Pick a Disc episode.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this week's comics. But before we do, even though they're not even open at the moment, I'd just like to say big shout out to our sponsor, Travelling Man. If you have a look at Travelling Man UK on Twitter, you'll get all the updates from them there. And when they are back, please support them because they're going to need your support because small businesses are having the worst time at the moment. So if in any way you can support Travelling Man, please do so.
You can as well buy things from their website right now. They're still sending things out.
Are they?
Yeah, it's obviously reduced because there's certain things they have in the warehouse they don't have in the shop and vice versa. But there's still some things you can pick up from them.
Brilliant. Well, have a look at their website and buy stuff. Because, you know, we're all geeks and we all understand that geeky shops don't have huge profit margins. And this is going to hit businesses like Travelling Man really, really hard.
That is very true. So, yeah, definitely, if you can, get onto Travelling Man. Get some general nerdery in your life.
General nerdery. I have a lot of general nerdery in my life.
Don't we all, mate? Don't we all?
Anyway, comics. So this week we went to the Image Comics website. It is super easy to get some free firsts from them. If you just go to if you just type in Image Comics into Google, they're the first option. Click on them. If you hit comics and then the drop down, it will say free firsts. And they have got, I think there's about 50 free first issues that you can just read through all of them. We essentially decided to start reading from the very top, but take out comics that we've already covered on the show. The first 6 included 20XX, which we've already read, and American Jesus, which we've already looked at too. So we're not looking at those. We're looking at 68, 8 Horse, Alex and Ada, and Analog. And because of my OCD kind of personality, we're doing them in alphabetical order, Zach.
I will allow it.
Good. So, first up, we have got 68. What did you think of that?
Technicality here. This is 68 Homefront.
Still. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Homefront was the name of the story in 68.
No. The name of the story was Peace and Love.
Oh, so it's called 68 Homefront.
Because this is volume 5, apparently, of 68.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was the first issue of the first of all of the issues.
So did I. And then right at the end of the issue, it starts listing all the other volumes of 68, which was then like, what do you mean this is volume 5? Why would you give away issue 1 of volume 5?
Oh.
And it does feel like it's a bit of a standalone story. I think all the other stories are set in the Vietnam War.
Right.
So this is obviously, back at home in, oh good God, somewhere in America. Harbinger somewhere. I know it's called Harbinger.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, Mark. As far as zombie comics go, I was not a fan of this, and I quite like a good zombie comic.
As far as zombie comics go, this was a very average zombie comic, would be my opinion as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one. So it feels like a mini-series set in this zombie world that apparently we should have known about and we didn't. But I don't know, it's just a bit of a weird read. I think they've tried to do a lot of stuff we're in the period of 1968, but because of that, it does come off as quite sexist throughout a lot of it, I thought. I don't know if that was just me or...
Well, I think it does, but it's set in 1968. It would be inaccurate if they didn't.
In a way, but I still think it could have been... Considering the book was written in 2014, I feel like they could have, I don't know, been kinder to at least 1 or 2 female characters.
Oh, and I agree. I think the authenticity over stuff that now makes us a bit uncomfortable is a difficult choice for something set in that kind of time period. I don't know. What I did like about it was the complete lack of awareness and the ignorance and the self-absorbed behavior of all the characters when everything was going to pot. I thought that was nicely done. It did hit a nerve a little bit, considering what's going on at the moment with us having our own epidemic, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. It's an interesting one because I feel like partially the time period is a useful tool because it means you can kind of do not everyone knows about zombies yet. There haven't been that many zombie stories, so everyone's coming into this blind. I think that was an interesting idea.
Yes.
But I don't know, it just, maybe it's because I've read Walking Dead and I've read Afterlife with Archie and other bits of zombie books that Marvel zombies. That maybe it just felt like, I don't know, this just feels a bit like another zombie book.
Yeah, and I think the zombie lore was absolutely standard zombie lore. There was nothing original about their zombies. It was slow moving, living dead, shoot them in the head to kill them. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, particularly with it being kind of cool that it's set in the 60s. But it just didn't quite grasp me as bringing me anything, or not bringing me enough new to a genre that I have read and watched a lot of.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the thing, the fact that both of us have consumed a lot of zombie media, that maybe this is, you know, just one zombie book too far, perhaps. But
yeah, and it was fine, but it was only fine.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think for me, that's about as much as I've got to say about it. The art was good. The story was fine. The setting was unoriginal, but kind of slightly original because it was set in the past. It was fine, and if I'd got nothing else to read, it wouldn't be the worst read of my life. But for me, I think that this is a pass. I'm not going to look into it anymore.
Yeah, this is a pass for me as well.
All right, let's move on to 8. I didn't really have much to say about 68 Homefront. Not that I noticed it was called Homefront. So let's move on to 8 House. What did you think of that?
Okay, interesting one with 8 House, because I thought this was called Arclight.
But again, similar to me thinking that Homefront was the title of the story, Arclight was the title of the story. Or am I getting myself confused again?
I'm really not sure, because we've got the trade. I hadn't read the trade until this week. I hadn't read any of it. And the trade's just labelled Arclight, so I'm not sure what this is officially called.
Should we go with 8 House Arclight?
Yes, let's do that. Number 1. So
go team.
Yes. So kind of, fantasy vibes. Lady Kinga separated from her original body, hunting a magical beast with Sir Arclight, the only knight she's got left. Seems to be the premise, and then we kind of get distracted by red geese.
So yeah, this was peculiar, and I tend to like peculiar. I felt like the full page spread as the first thing you see, which gives you the kind of scale and setting and this is our artwork style, was a bloody good way to start a book.
I totally agree. I think it's an interesting one because it was very peculiar, but I wasn't entirely against it. It was a bit of a surreal read at times, and it felt like there was a lot being thrown at the wall.
Yeah.
But I quite liked it. I think the art was nice, but a little bit odd as well.
I loved the art. I thought the art was big and bold, and it was great for me, and I felt like it suited the story as well. And I loved the art.
I did like this as a first issue. It's a trade that we bought years ago in a Travelling Man sale and haven't read yet. So I'm kind of, having now read the first issue, a little bit interested in continuing with it. I think as far as fantasy stories go, it doesn't seem to be coming from a place of having a lot of... I think a lot of fantasy books can go quite heavy on the dialogue to try and fit in as much as they can about, hey, this is the world we're in right now, whereas this felt very much just, we're just going to show you the world and you'll catch up.
Yeah, yeah, it gives you an immediate mystery of what's going on with Lady's face. What's that about? And it gives you an evil goose, which what's not to like about that? I liked that. That was unexpected, and then suddenly there was a goose. And the gays, I'm always pro for the gays.
Yeah,
I like stories with gays in representation, and yeah, I really liked it. And then it had a really weird ending.
Yeah, fair. A very abrupt ending as well. I think. It seemed like it was just going somewhere, and then it's like, see you next time. Like, what?
Yeah, I think it does suffer from wanting to establish the world relatively slow paced and establish the characters, and then it runs out of time. And I think that does affect the ending. I don't know how you would have ever solved that with single issues, which is a difficulty when it comes to single issues. I think the trade, I would have immediately gone straight on and read some more of it immediately, because that didn't really seem like an ending or a cliffhanger that was what I was looking for in a single issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. I think it felt, as we've said with some titles previously, it felt like, the first 20 pages of a book, not a single issue. And I agree. I think the fact that I have the trade is like, it feels like I'm going to just read the next issue. It was hard to stop at that point.
Yeah.
I thought, interestingly, in the single, so I did read it, the digital format we've got on Image. I did quite enjoy the weird little back matter, though, that they had, that was all written in, weird arc-light hieroglyphics almost.
Yeah. I found that odd, and I didn't really understand it.
I did some translating of the first story.
Oh, okay.
So there's a little key, and there's this kind of pig creature, which the dialogue to accompany it was just beastie, good at climbing, like sunny treetops. Eats
Brilliant.
mushrooms, strawberries, and then just had a can of some kind of pet food next to it. I couldn't translate what that said. But yeah, I was apparently desperate enough of things to do that I started translating back matter. But yeah, I think as a first issue, enough mystery and an interesting enough kind of fantasy world to make me want to read a bit more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I enjoyed it. The weird ending, abrupt ending aside, I really, really enjoyed it. And I it's a pull for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it helps that I've already got the trade, so I probably will read the rest of it.
When you post me Incredible Hulk on DVD, can you post me that as well, please?
I'll see what I can do.
Safe.
So should we move on to Alex and Ada?
Yes, let's.
So this is by Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughan, and I think based on our previous discussion of 20XX, people probably know we're quite into Jonathan Luna's art.
Yeah, and also immediately when I saw Jonathan Luna, it made me sad, because there's a comic book by the Luna brothers called Girls that you cannot get for love nor money. There are no trades, there are no collected. And I read the first trade before it went out of print, and it was brilliant. And it's not been available for years. So I immediately had a pang of, oh.
Is there no way to get it digitally or anything?
Not that I've found, but I haven't looked digitally because I fundamentally dislike reading digitally.
Now might be the time to come around, Mark.
Well, I did actually want to mention that Marvel Unlimited, the functionality of that zooming into panels, and it's very, very good on Marvel Unlimited, whereas this was just a PDF through their website. And that wasn't as good an experience as the Marvel Unlimited experience. However, it's still pretty cool that you can do this for free on their website.
It is an interesting one, though, with Image, and this is something I was going to mention. Most sites seem to be kind of giving you the PDF and you can download them. Image, it's very dependent on you being on Wi-Fi and reading it in your web browser.
Yeah, it's almost like streaming as opposed to downloading a video, and
Yeah.
an image have gone for streaming.
Whereas a lot of other people seem to have gone with, oh, just take the thing, it's cool.
Yeah, there's no real functionality. You can't full screen it. You can't manipulate it and zoom in easily, and it hasn't got the advantage of an app like Marvel Unlimited does. But it is still pretty readable. I struggled on my laptop. I found it easier on my desktop with a bigger screen.
Yeah, I can see that. I read it on my laptop and it was a little bit challenging at times, but
yeah. So recommend, if you're reading the image books, that you try it on as big a screen as you possibly can.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Alex and Ada.
Yes, back to that. I loved it. And simply put, I loved it. It was very much I was always going to like it. It's Jonathan Luna. The artwork is superb. The story is my kind of sci-fi with kind of thinky Alexas, the next gen of stuff that you could see happening in the next 10 or 15 years. Kinky Grandma was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I loved how Kinky Grandma had a robo stud that I don't actually have a lot to say about this other than I bloody loved it.
I think that's fair. So I think it kind of painted a believable, not so distant future.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the elements we saw, like you say, androids kind of taking the place of, people. And all the kind of household tech was all very believable right now. I think it was so obvious as soon as you got the grandma saying, why don't you get yourself one of those android girlfriends, that was obviously exactly where this was going to go, even without the cover and the name. Yeah. I think as soon as that's said, it's like, that's where we're going then.
That was an impossible situation. You either had a dull front cover that didn't have Ada on, or you spoilt it. I think that was an unfortunate.
Yeah, it had to happen one way or the other.
Yeah, an unfortunate, impossible situation due to the name and story of the book. And as a minor detail, it doesn't really matter that you were spoiled, because you've gone to that book because it's a sci-fi about androids. So I get what you're saying, but it didn't affect my enjoyment. I agree. It just wasn't a cliffhanger at the end. It was okay, we've established the universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
One thing I absolutely loved was that Alex was uncomfortable at his own party.
Yeah, that was a good different take, I think.
And that is something that anybody who's ever had problems with anxiety, or anybody who just goes to a party and doesn't really know people, can empathize with. And what I liked about it was it emphasized that he's living in this almost it's not, but almost utopic future where tech gives you everything you need, but tech can't solve anxiety.
That is very fair. Yeah.
I loved that. It was really sensitively done. It wasn't over-egged. It was just like, read this bit and then go, oof, have a little pause, because we've all been there and it's always sucked. And there isn't ever going to be a solution to that isn't messing with your own brain.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point and it makes sense. And it is interesting because I guess we see so much tech in this and so many, hey, there's going to be androids, that it's nice to see the more human, down-to-earth elements as well.
I absolutely loved this book. I don't even know how I'd never heard of it before, because it's so me, and it is the pulliest of pulls.
That's fair. It is a book I've looked at over the years, and this is the first time I've read it, even though, as we've covered, we've read a lot of Jonathan Luna between us. But I really liked this as well, so also a pull, definitely.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, when I've taken a nice big fat chunk out of my kitty tower of books, the complete collection will be the first thing I allow myself to buy when I feel like I've read enough of them. I'm definitely going to read 8 House, but Alex and Ada is my priority.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. It's definitely one of my favourites from this week. Maybe my favourite from this week. It's a curious one.
It's definitely my favourite from this week.
So to round us off with our Image 4 issues, we've got Analog by Jerry Duggan, David O'Sullivan, and Geordie Belair.
First thing that struck me about this is something that always freaks me out a little bit, and that is a likable hitman.
Yeah, that is an interesting one.
He's a murderer. He kills people, regardless of whether or not they deserve it, and that's definitely inverted commas because I don't believe anyone ever deserves it. But regardless of whether or not they're bad people, a likable hitman always makes me feel a bit yick, and this was done very well, I thought.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's an interesting premise, very similar to the premise we saw for Brian K. Vaughan's book Private Eye. So it's kind of after, storing everything online has fallen apart, we get into the idea of sensitive information has to be transported by particular people who aren't afraid to, do a bit of spying and mercenary type work on the side. And I think it's an interesting one because of that. I think it does explore a kind of possibly believable, not so distant future.
Yeah, it's definitely more dystopic than Alex and Ada was, though.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but for me, there was the first few pages of Hitman story, Hitman story, Hitman story, surprise sci-fi.
Yeah, I think
I really liked that.
Yeah, it's kind of a delicate balancing between... I mean, it's described as something like a cyber dystopian noir, I think is what the front cover says. And
sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it kind of completely nails it. And all things that, appeal to me, I like a good noir, I like a good sci-fi. So I think bringing them together definitely works. It's interesting because, as you've said, so the main character, Jack, is kind of not a great guy, but also kind of a pretty good guy. So
yeah.
It is an interesting one. And I think the kind of cast of characters we see is quite classic feeling, but an interesting opening.
Yeah, and there was a lot to like in this book. It definitely has the line of the week that I loved, and that was, I tell myself I did the right thing, but I drink like I effed up.
Yeah, that's a good line.
And that made me go, oh, that was brutal. And I think in future I'm going to try and find the line of the week, regardless of what we're reading, because that made me think. That just made me think that is such a cool line. So that's good. If I remember, that might be a regular feature going forward, I think.
Okay, I'd like to think that between the two of us, we could probably come up with a line each week.
The line of the week. It did actually say the forbidden fur, but I'm not going to say that because this is still a family-friendly show as far as I'm concerned.
Allegedly so.
Allegedly.
So, Analog, pull or pass, Mark?
I haven't finished talking about it.
Oh, you got more? Okay, wow.
Yeah. I just wanted to say very briefly, emphasising that he's Generation X made me really happy because, damn it, we exist.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's all the kind of boomers hating on millennials. You've got all the millennials hating on boomers. And you've got a very defined stereotype of what a millennial is and what a boomer is. And in the middle, there's us. There's people like me who are like 40 to 55, roughly, who are pretty much ignored. Millennials call us boomers and boomers call us millennials, and you're both bloody wrong.
How did I get roped into this? I know you exist. I speak to you every week, unfortunately.
Yeah, define someone from Generation X.
Mark Adams.
Cheating. It's easy. What I'm saying is it's easier to define a boomer. It's easier to define a millennial. And it's nice that it's emphasizing that this guy is in a bad place, partly to do with the fact of what generation he's from. I liked that. That I was like, me too. And it was good. I liked it.
I think that's fair. And it is a detail that would get kind of glazed over a lot, especially with a kind of sci-fi story. So it does anchor us in a not so distant future.
Yeah, and I wonder, is it something that is aimed at Generation X readers, or is it just it had to they just thought it was a cool part of the story to emphasize that he is from that generation?
I wonder, based on, I'm not sure how old he is, but based on that, maybe it is that Jerry Duggan is Generation X.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we have liked, I think, all the Jerry Duggan books we've read. So it's been Dead Eyes and Marauders. We have a good relationship with Jerry Duggan as a writer.
It's fascinating, isn't it? And I never, with the exception of Jeff Lemire, I never assume I'm going to love something by any writer. Although I did just say that about the Luna Brothers as well. With the exception of Jeff Lemire and the Luna Brothers, I never assume I'm going to like something. And Jerry Duggan has been consistently excellent with everything we've read. So maybe I'm going to add him to my list of I'm going to like what he writes, because funnily enough, this is another pull.
Yeah, it's a pull from me as well. I'm going to be honest with you, Mark. I've already read this.
Have you?
Yeah. It's a good first trade, and I think the second, the singles are coming out at the moment. Well, would be coming out at the moment. So I think the second trade will be later this year.
Yeah, and the reality is here, Image, I've always said, is the publisher for me. They publish the kind of stuff I like. Gritty, adult, usually sci-fi or fantasy, well-written, beautiful art. What is not to love about Image? I was always going to have a good week, I think.
Yeah, I think you're a big Image fan. It was pretty set in stone. You were going to have a good Image week.
And then when we started discussing what we were going to do over this period of uncertainty, I was like, shall we just read through all the Image free firsts? And you were like, no, we're going to do different publishers. And I was
I think...
I was just like, oh.
I think the thing is, while there's a lot of Image to cover, I think we need to give people a good spread still and show that, maybe Image isn't for everyone, but there are a lot of other things out there.
I get it. It makes 100% sense. I agree completely, but I'm still in a bit of a grump.
On the flip side of that, however, it does seem like Marvel and DC aren't really getting in on this, giving things away for free. So I feel like we're going to have a very light on the superheroes few weeks.
The reality is, though, Zach, it is still very, very early days. A lot of events that are in June and July haven't been cancelled yet. And people are not sure how long this crap is going to last for. So there's no reason why DC and Marvel can't hedge their bets for another few weeks, because we just don't know, do we?
I totally get that, but I do feel like DC and Marvel are the bigger companies who can perhaps more afford to give things away.
Yeah,
and it does feel like all the little guys are trying harder than the two massive companies.
It's not just in the comic book industry as well, that though.
No, that's very true. So I'm going to play some music.
I think you should.
This past week, Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne died because of COVID-19, unfortunately. And he had some really good songs, and both as Fountains of Wayne and as, himself and for other artists, for TV shows. And I managed to find my connection. Apparently, he is the cousin of the man who's playing the Punisher.
Amazing.
So while it's not the most immediate connection, it works. So I'm going to play Sink to the Bottom by Fountains of Wayne.
I want to sink to the bottom with you. I want to sink to the bottom with you. The ocean is big and blue. I just want to sink to the bottom with you. Cars on the highway, planes in the air. Everyone else is going somewhere, but I'm going nowhere. Getting there soon. nowhere, and I'll be there too. I might as well go under with you. I wanna sink to the bottom with you. I wanna sink to the bottom with you. The ocean is big and blue. I just wanna sink to the bottom with you. I just wanna sink to the bottom with you. I wanna sink to the bottom with you. The ocean is big and blue. I just wanna sink to the bottom with you. I just wanna. I just wanna. I just wanna. I just wanna.
Welcome back to Pull or Pass. That was Sink to the Bottom by Fountains of Wayne. And sad reason to play it, but good song.
Yeah, it felt like the right way to go.
All right, so next week we are going to look at 3 firsts from Vault Comics. And we're going to look at Alien Bounty Hunter, Deep Roots, Failsafe, and Fearscape.
I'm going to cut you off there and swerve.
What?
So you want to go for the top 4 and I feel you?
Yeah, alphabetical.
I'm going to go with reverse alphabetical for this one.
Oh, but don't. That will upset my OCD. Why?
Okay, so last week, at least in America, the Vagrant Queen TV show started up on the Sci-Fi Channel. So I kind of think we go for the last 4 and then we get to cover Vagrant Queen.
Okay, so all right. What the bloody hell are we reading?
So it'd be Submerged,
Okay.
Vagrant Queen, Wasted Space, and bear with me on this one, Zojakwan? I think is the.
Okay.
I'm struggling to read the logo on the comic, but Zojakwan is what I'm going with as a pronunciation. So I say we go for the last 4, shake it up, upset Mark greatly, but really lay in for the tie-ins with Vagrant Queen.
Fine, whatever you say, but I haven't actually looked at those titles, so I can't tell you which one I'm looking forward to the most.
Vagrant Queen it is. Cracking.
Brilliant. So we are going to be looking at books by Vault's Comics. Are those free on their website, or is that Comixology, Zach?
Those are all free on the Vault website.
So you just go to their website, there are 3 firsts on there, and they'll be at the bottom of the list of comics that you can read for free. Thank you so much for joining us for Pull or Pass. We've pulled, we've passed.
We're going to do it all again next week.
And we'll see you then.
Ta-ra.